Hello again, this is Nikita, and I'm going to play now with Stockfish 5. I need to say that there is a big difference between Stockfish 4 and Stockfish 5, at least for me. I found that Stockfish from 1 to 4 actually makes quite a lot of blunders, but starting from Stockfish 5, the number of blunders tremendously reduces. And in order to play against Stockfish 5 successfully, I want to follow a couple of strategic lines. First of all, I want to employ all my employees. I want to give a job to each and every employee of my company. So my interns, the pawns, should work together and support each other. My operations team, Rook, should also communicate to each other, be connected. They also operate as logistics team. My R&D team, Knights, Disruptors or Innovators, should be able to occupy the central squares ideally, or create some weaknesses in opponent's position, so they have some lots of possibilities what to do exactly. Bishops, another operations team, should be able to see each other and communicate through the opening lines. My chief operating officer, the queen, should also create lots of problems for my opponent. And the CEO of the company should be well protected in the beginning and step in at the end of the game. That's one of the strategic lines. All the pieces should work with each other and support each other. Another important thing in the game against Stockfish 5, which is rated about 2000 elo, I need to watch out what is the plan for my opponent, what is actually my opponent tries to do. If I miss the plan of my opponent, I might get in trouble quite quickly, so I need to see what's actually my opponent wants to do with its moves, what's the plan. If I follow these two simple strategic lines, then probably I should be fine. But let's get started. I play e4 traditionally, and I'll try to make the game as easy as possible. Okay, opponent allows me to take control of the center. I push d4. I develop my knight because the bishop now attacks my d4, and it cannot take immediately because it's protected by queen, but I need to develop my knight and see what will happen next. I will then develop another knight, so my R&D team now ready to work, and I will solidify the center. Okay, now knight of my opponent goes to the edge of the board, which is not probably the best move, but I understand the knight should be developed, and it's better to develop it this way than just keep it undeveloped. I would prevent the knight entering my territory. I need to control g4. I'll push the pawn to control g4. And I'll continue with my development. So my opponent now tries to develop its knights, which is reasonable. I would develop first my bishop, let's say on e3 for now. That created a weakness in my position, and my opponent immediately tries to take advantage of my weakness. My pawn on b2 is weak. This is the threat, and if there is a threat, I need to respond to this threat. There is no other way. I can whether push the pawn forward, then my knight becomes weak, or I can protect it with knight and at the same time attack the queen. So probably if my piece does two jobs at the same time, it's better move. So I would probably attack the queen and protect the knight at the same time. And I'll come back to protect my king from check and bring my knight to safety as well. Okay, knight goes to the f5. I need to develop my bishop. I need to watch if knight wants to take my bishop on e3. So far, I will just continue with development. If knight takes, I'll take with the pawn, of course. Takes. And now opponent tries to create a problem in the center of my position, or maybe even then push my bishop away. It immediately weakens the pawn on d5, but I cannot move my knight because it's pinned. If I remove the pin, then probably next move I can attack d5 if computer doesn't react on that. So let's make it simple. I'll protect the knight. At the same time, I'll remove knight from pin, and I'll attack d5. Okay, d5 is now weak. It only supported by the queen. Pawn is attacking my bishop. I need to respond to this threat. I need to first remove my bishop to safe square. And now it's time to think how to attack the center. I can push my pawn forward. Takes, I take with knight. Takes, I can take with knight or even king. But the only problem for my position here is that my king is still not castled. And I need to bring my CEO of the company to safety. Like now CEO is kind of sitting in the open space, but it should have his own office. If I castle short side, there is a potential that bishop can be sacrificed, and opponent's king is much safer. If I castle the long side, there is also kind of danger. There is a queen there, there is a knight maybe planning to go there. But okay, let's try to make it really simple. I'll just castle short. I'll try to make it as simple as possible. Okay, d5 can be easily supported by e6. I think there is no like immediate way for me to capture this pawn, unless I want to really sacrifice my queen, but it's not a sacrifice. So I'll probably move my queen somewhere out. Also, my bishop does nothing. Like it really unemployed, and I need to find a job for the bishop. In order to find a job for the bishop, I need to move my knight somewhere, make a job for the bishop, give double pressure on the central pawn, and that probably would improve my position slightly. So I would just move my knight out for a moment in order to give a job for the bishop, because it's unemployed now. There is attack on my central pawn. I can move knight out. I can move knight out, and then my pawn becomes weak. I cannot protect it immediately, I think. If I fight for the pawn on d5, takes, check, yeah. I think if I put the pressure on d5, it would be it would be more dangerous for my opponent than if I just lose the pawn on e5, I think. Let's try to make it very simple. I try to attack the pawn on d5, which is weak now. Okay, reasonable. It's closed position, but there is a weak pawn on g6. There is also pawn on h6, which is only protected by the bishop. And now I think my opponent tries to attack the center. If I attack here, take, my queen is kind of not really doing anything, but before I can push here, yeah, I think I'll just push my pawn on e4. It will attack the center. If computer takes, I take, and then I can move my queen after that. Let's try that. Ignores. I take. I take here. There's a check. I go to the safety. Pawn is pushed. I can attack the queen. And there is also a weak pawn here, which is very difficult to protect now. Or maybe even impossible. If I push my knight, doesn't help much. If I push my bishop, there is a danger of check. If I sacrifice the knight here, I shouldn't probably do that. I think my knight should go to some other place where it will be more safe. d1, f2, then g4 doesn't really work, e2, and from e2 I can temporarily put it on g3. Also, it's not really strong there. But at least it looks better. So I'll push it on e2 for now. And there is a weak pawn on d4. If I take, computer takes, and I need to come back, and there is a weak pawn on b2 as well. But these two pawns are dangerous, so I need to take one of those. Okay. The pawn on e5 is attacked twice, by knight and by bishop. There is a weak pawn on my opponent on g6. I can push my queen to create a danger for g6. That will lose my knight. If I want to save my knight, it's the only place to put it is back on e2. Then I think immediately computer will attack the pawn, and I can try to attempt g6, but I want to keep my knight. I don't want to lose it that simple. I just wanna use it later. Yeah, this pawn, as I said, was weak. My knight is the problem. It doesn't do much. But I think at this position I can just sacrifice another pawn and try to attack on the king side. The game really gets super aggressive. The pawn is taken. I cannot attack now here, but I need to find a way to push this knight out. If I move my knight, I give double pressure. My knight on h2 is dead, so my pieces do not really work together as they should work. But let me find some job for my pieces. And computer offered me a draw, which is not bad. My position was worse. I was -1 pawn. My pawn on c2 was dangerous, and it's probably it's definitely not a good game, but it teaches maybe some lesson that draw is better than the losing the game, right? So if computer decided to offer a draw, and especially like if your opponent is strong enough, and then you can just accept draw. It's totally fine. There's nothing wrong with that. And it's actually first time when Stockfish 5 by itself proposes me a draw. Okay, let's try again. Let's learn from the mistakes that I made. And I will try to beat Stockfish 5 again.